Mr. Transformers 96 here with another video, where I'm going to be talking about a newly shown Marvel Legends wave, and this time it is the newest Spider-Man wave featuring the Kingpin Build-A-Figure. So I've discussed these figures as they were kind of slowly shown throughout several Comic-Cons and different toy events in the past. So now we have like official images of them, which is quite nice. We get to see like good shots of them, which some of these we've already seen good shots of, but some of the others we haven't yet. And then we also get breakdown of where the pieces are going, you know, who comes with what piece for Kingpin. So this is going to be my final video on the Kingpin wave, as we now have all the photos for him. But let's break it down here. Well, first of all, I'll just start with Kingpin himself. A Kingpin I really like. He's the thing that I'm most excited about with this whole wave. I'm a fan of Kingpin. You know, I think that he's a nice, solid Build-A-Figure. He looks like a big character, and obviously a completely new sculpt, which is exciting. And I'm a big fan of the fact that he comes with two different heads. I think that's very cool. And then I do like the fact that you can take the Shadow Master head sculpt that comes with Professor Xavier and put it on this Build-A-Figure and make it, no, sorry, the Shadow King. So you can make him the Shadow King, so that's really cool. So I'm pretty excited for that, and I definitely plan, it makes me want that Xavier figure even more, which is nice. Let's start on the actual figures here. We'll break it down. The Spider-Man figures of the wave. We have the 6-arm Spider-Man. This is a really cool looking Spider-Man. This was the most recent figure shown, but it's really cool. Obviously, having 6 arms makes him very unique. All the arms have great articulation, as you can see. The only area where he's lacking articulation is the torso, because of how many arms he has. Do I think that like there was no way of them giving him a torso articulation? Absolutely not. They could have easily done it, because if you look here, I mean, as long as there's a space in between these arms, you start the cut here, it goes up, goes over, down, and back, and then you have your ab crunch. The shoulders, the pins only go in a little bit, so they could have absolutely added torso articulation if they wanted. The only reason they didn't, from what I can tell, is just budgetary reasons. You know, they're spending a lot more on the arms, and therefore they've got to cut back somewhere else. This figure doesn't come with a Build-A-Figure piece. I almost feel like they could have wiggled that in there, but still, it's okay. I don't even see waist articulation, which is really disappointing, because I hope this guy can at least swivel on the waist, but I don't see it anywhere, so that's a big issue for me. But personally, I really like the look of this figure. I wish he came with a Build-A-Figure piece, because this is probably one of the most interesting figures that I see in this wave. Overall, I'm not huge into the majority of the figures in this wave, so it's a shame that the one that kind of interests me, it doesn't have a Build-A-Figure piece, considering I'll buy a lot of these figures purely for that Build-A-Figure piece, because I think that Kingpin looks very nice. Then we have the Symbiote Spider-Man. This is an okay looking one. It's a very average, it's your plain superior Spider-Man, superior Venom kind of sculpt. It has the feet that have toes, which I think is very cool. And then with the fists, he looks very plain, but with like the hands that have the claws, the very skinny fingers, that looks neat. And then I do like the fact that his mask has like eyes protruding like outwards. I think that that's kind of cool. And then one of the coolest things about him is the symbiote's symbol on him. I think that looks really nice. Overall, it's nothing too new, but the small details make it interesting. However, interesting enough to like drop 20 bucks on, you know, I don't know. I'd mainly just want his parts. I think for a majority of the figures in this wave, if I can get the Build-A-Figure parts separate for a good price, I'd be into that. But I'll discuss that more when I go over the entire wave, but just kind of going over figure by figure. Then we have a Black Cat. I'm a fan of Black Cat. I really like the one that came in the Ultimate Goblin wave. That was a really cool, nice classic version of her. This is a more modern rendition of her, but it still looks nice. I think the head sculpt looks good, and then the costume is neat. I do like the kind of fur pieces on the collar, the wrists, and then the ankle sections. I think it looks pretty neat, but nothing. This isn't a costume that I particularly like for a Black Cat, but it's interesting at least. And then she comes with the arm and the cane for Kingpin. Then we have Silver Sable. This is one of the figures I'm most looking forward to in the wave. I do like Silver Sable. I know her mostly from Spectacular Spider-Man, which is a great TV show. And she looks really nice here. I like the silver color scheme. I'm hoping that in person it looks like this, so metallic and kind of shiny. I think it looks very neat. The head sculpt looks nice, and then the weapons are a little plain, but you know, they're still fine. And then she comes with let's see, what is that? His left arm for Kingpin. And then the villains of the assortment, we have Puma and Red Goblin. The two of these are interesting. Puma, you know, he's a villain that I guess he's a bit of an older Spider-Man villain, but he's not a classic Spider-Man villain. So he's kind of in that in-between stage that I'm not too into, to be honest. I like the classic Spider-Man villains, to be honest, and he doesn't really fit that, so... Personally, I've never been a fan of Puma. The look of the figure is interesting. I would imagine that it uses some parts from Beast or Sabretooth, you know, so I don't think it's completely new or anything, but I do think that it looks interesting. I like the necklace piece, the head sculpt, I like the expression on it, and yeah, overall, he's looking alright. He comes with probably the most interesting piece of Kingpin, his whole torso, so that's a nice chunk of a piece to include with him, and considering he's a bit bulkier, I find it surprising that he comes with that. I think that the either a Night Thrasher or the Symbiote Spider-Man should come with the torso, but whatever, it still works. So overall, Pumbaa, not too into it. I'd skip him if I could, you know, to be honest. Red Goblin is the one that I'm most looking in, or most interested in the wave. I don't know much about Red Goblin, but I sure know a lot about Goblin, and I sure know a lot about Carnage, and this is combining the two of them, and therefore, it intrigues me at the very least. So I like the design of it. You know, I've seen a lot of people complain that this character is just such a cash grab, and he certainly is. I have you know, I don't think that he isn't, but it's an interesting one at the very least, and it's very cool looking, or at least weird and interesting looking, so it certainly intrigues me. The Red Goblin is a figure that I'd purchase even without a Build-A-Figure piece, to be honest. That's kind of how into it I am. I think it looks really neat. And then lastly, we have Night Thrasher. Night Thrasher I'm not too familiar with. Apparently he's a hero, and he was kind of the start of Civil War in the comics. He was a part of the hero team that was in the event that started the Sokovia, or not Sokovia, of course, but the Superhero Registration Act. So, you know, he was killed at the very beginning of Civil War. That's about all I know about him. Figure-wise, doesn't look interesting at all. It looks like a repaint of Taskmaster with a new head sculpt, and somewhat plain head sculpt, to be honest. And the black on him looks really like shiny and glossy, but I have a feeling that in person it won't look that good. So yeah, overall this one's extremely boring. I could absolutely care less. I don't want that one at all, to be honest. So just going over the wave for me personally, what I'm interested in, what I can skip, and what I'd be okay getting. The Red Goblin and Silver Sable I do want. You know, I'll buy the two of them with their Build-A-Figure pieces, no questions asked. Puma and Black Cat, I'd be okay buying the two of them. However, I would prefer to get their Build-A-Figure pieces separate for a really good price. For Symbiote Spider-Man and Night Thrasher, the two of them, I'd be much more interested in just getting the Build-A-Figure pieces and not the figure. If I absolutely had to, or if I could just get the figure, like the figure mint for a really good price, then sure I would. But personally, I don't have any interest in those figures. And then the six-arm Spider-Man intrigues me. Not enough to just buy him on full retail or anything. I'll definitely wait for a discount on that one. But I do want to get it, even though you don't need him to complete Kingpin. No matter what, I am going to complete Kingpin, but I think this is going to be a slow burn wave for me. Like, sometimes I do that, where I'm just not super invested in any of the figures. I'm just, like, kind of interested in a lot of them, which is really the consensus here for me personally with this wave, is that there's some that intrigue me, but even the ones that intrigue me, like Red Goblin and Silver Sable, I'm not like, I gotta have it right this minute. Like, I don't mind waiting for the two of them at all, but I do absolutely want them in my collection eventually. So I think this is going to be a slow burn wave for me. I'm going to really take my time and purchase a lot of these whenever I can find good discounts, good sales, good coupons type of thing. So yeah, eventually I'll complete Kingpin, but I'm in no rush, to be quite honest. This wave is anticipated to come out in January, so this will probably be the first wave of 2019, which is very exciting. Yeah, let me know what you guys think of the individual figures and the Build-A-Figure and how the wave is broken down, and thanks so much for watching.